I'm going to make a bet that you don't know what the return was on your most recent marketing. And I don't mean whether or not you got business from it. I'm talking the total return. And maybe even more importantly, what it cost you to get that return. You're not alone. It's the reason why many agents jump from thing to thing, not ever settling on anything that consistently brings in clients. My name is Levi Jones. I'm the founder and head coach of Guerrilla Realty, and I want to give you a simple process for knowing whether or not you're marketing ROIs before you even spend a dollar. And you don't have to be a math whiz or spend hours poring over boring numbers and reports. I want you to imagine this. The next time a vendor calls you, you actually walk them through the numbers they're promising you. Or maybe you can just sleep easy knowing why you shouldn't do those open houses that feel like a waste of time, but every person in your office tells you is the way to get rich. Real quick, we recently did a full 1 hour live training on generating consistent clients that actually generates a return. We include everything you need to execute, the tools, the scripts, the step-by-step, everything. All you have to do is like this video, share it with another agent, and then comment shared below. I'll send you a private link to the full resource. Let's jump into it. Before you spend a single dollar or even a single minute on marketing, you've got to answer one question. What return do you even expect? Most agents hope for ROI, but we're going to flip that. In this video, I'm going to show you how to decide your ROI up front. So every marketing idea, whether it's direct response, infrastructure, or sphere of influence, has to prove its worth on the investment. Before we get started, I have 2 questions for you. The first question is, would you do marketing that guarantees a 2x ROI? In other words, that you can double your money each and every time you spend it. And when I ask that question, most agents say yes, absolutely, that sounds great. In fact, part of the reason why we even do this training at all is because we recently ran across an agent absolutely bragging about his results on purchasing leads. And he was like, we spend $10,000 a month and we generate $20,000 a month in revenue every single time. However, I want to ask the question a different way that maybe frames it differently for you. The way that I want to ask the question is, would you spend 50% of your revenue on marketing? It's the same thing. I just flipped it around and asked it differently. When we think of it that way, all of a sudden return on investment takes on a whole different tone. And in fact, this is probably the reason why so many agents not only are jumping from thing to thing, but that are feeling like, man, I work so hard and yet I'm not seeing the results. My business isn't growing. I'm barely paying the bills, et cetera, et cetera. By the time I pay my tax bill coming up and my NAR fees and all that kind of stuff, I'm broke practically. Why is that? And the reason is when you start to ask the question this way, would you spend 50% of your revenue on marketing? All of a sudden, return on investment takes a whole different tone. So we know 50% doesn't feel right. It's not going to allow us to be successful long-term if we spent 50% of our revenue on marketing. But what number is correct? What's the right amount to spend on marketing? And I've read books on this topic. I've seen a lot of the real estate experts out there. They'll tell you, well, you can spend up to 20% of your revenue on marketing. In other words, your marketing needs to have a 5x ROI or it's not worth it. I would actually say a little bit less than that. In fact, in most other industries, if you were to say, hey, I spend 50% of my revenue on marketing, they would absolutely laugh you out the door. You were to talk to their marketing department. Same thing with 20%. And I realize this is a service industry, and so we have a little bit more upside. We don't have a lot of overhead, but the average business in the US spends 7.5% of their revenue on marketing. And so I'm going to recommend that you shoot for a 10x ROI. Again, we want to spend 10% or less of our gross revenue on marketing. Real estate agents love trying new marketing ideas, but here's the problem. You can't compare a postcard campaign to Craigslist, to Zillow, to open houses unless you use a universal system. In this section, I'm going to show you the simple framework that lets you compare any marketing idea on equal footing so you instantly know which ones stay and which ones go. All right, so this universal system starts with a tool. You can access this tool at nerdsheets.com. Again, I'll repeat that later when we actually start doing an audit. But in order to calculate and compare apples to apples when we're looking at different marketing options and we're keeping in mind that metric, return on investment, we do a few things. So, first of all, we have to know the worth of our time, okay? Because some options don't cost very much in terms of actual cash, money out of our pocket, but they take a lot of time to execute. Door knocking is an example of this. Completely free to knock on doors. It takes days to go and knock on doors. Not to mention the rejection. We won't calculate the cost of rejection. We'll just calculate the time cost. So this tool is actually going to factor that in. Now, how much is your time worth? And you might go, well, maybe $20 an hour. No, the time worth has to do with an economic term called opportunity cost. In other words, if I want to be able to make this amount of money, this target yearly income here, then my hourly worth, and assuming that I'm working 50 hours a week, is going to be $122 an hour. In other words, for me to be able to invest this time into a marketing option, I have to be making that $122 an hour, or I should hire someone else to do it. Ultimately, what this tool is going to help me come up with are two things. Number one, the budget per lead. Okay. The budget per lead is very important because this is the absolute top dollar that you could absolutely spend based on your market factors. So if I want a 10x ROI and the average home price in my area is $600,000 and the average commission side is 2.75%, then the budget per lead, that means I could spend up to $70 per lead. Now that opens up lots of different marketing options, but it also closes off a lot of different marketing options because anything that would cost me more than 70 or 68, 75 per lead, I got to get rid of it. Otherwise, it's not going to ROI. The second thing that it's going to give me is the cost per lead. So once I know the worth of my time and the cash cost and how many leads a marketing option is giving me, I can actually know exactly what the cost per lead is. And so it's real simple. I'm going to compare those two numbers. If I know the budget per lead and the cost per lead of a marketing option, I can immediately make that decision on whether I should keep it, double down on it, or whether I should go ahead and get rid of it. And by the way, this includes any option: open houses, classified ads, pay-per-click marketing. You could run door knocking through this. You could run cold calling through a FSBO list through this tool, and you're going to be able to get an accurate view of two numbers: the cost per lead and the budget per lead. That's going to help you be able to always name your return on investment and get that 10x ROI. So real quick review. Here's what bad marketing or bad advertising looks like. First, we always choose based on a pitch or a feeling. In fact, some of you are guilty of this. When I say that, I mean, think about the last time a vendor called you. Did you get along with the sales rep? Did they make you laugh? Did they tell good jokes? Did they tell you something that sounded really exciting? Or maybe it's even something that you're already doing and you just really like doing it. Maybe maybe you just really like cold calling. It's part of your routine. Hey, I'm going to cold call. But you're choosing that marketing option because you've always done it. It makes you feel safe and comfortable. You're not actually thinking about the return on investment. After that, we cross our fingers and we hope for a result. Okay. So you purchase that brand new vendor, you do the setup, cross the fingers, man, I hope I get a result. And then if any result comes, any result at all, it's a good option. I got a return, I'm good. We're going to keep doing it. And in fact, some of you are doing marketing right now that you've done for years and years and years because you got a result or some results over time, but it doesn't really have an actual return on investment over the long term. Okay. Here's what good advertising should look like. Okay. Rather than the bad where we're crossing our fingers, we're hoping a result, we're choosing based on maybe it feels good or maybe I feel productive when I do it. Instead of that, we want to always know our budget per lead. Okay. This is going to allow us to name our return on investment. Then we know for a particular marketing option, we're going to find out the exact cost per lead. We're going to factor in our time cost, everything else. We're going to know the exact per lead cost. And then finally, we're going to get rid of anything that does not result in a 10x ROI. If it doesn't result in a 10x ROI, it doesn't give us enough return in order to do it long term. And there are plenty of advertising and marketing things out there that allow you to get a 10x ROI. You do not have to settle for that Zillow. And I'll show you some examples here in a minute, but you don't have to settle for buying leads from Zillow just because you happen to get an ROI on it one time. You don't have to keep investing your money that way. If you're not getting a 10x ROI, it's not worth doing. Once you know your ROI target and how to compare options, here's where it gets fun, because now you can audit every marketing idea you're doing. And I'm going to show you exactly how to run each one through a quick evaluator tool that we designed so that you can tell in seconds whether it's kick it or keep it. And this is where agents unlock massive savings and even bigger returns. So let's go through a couple of examples using the marketing evaluator tool. Remember, you can get this at nerdsheets.com completely for free so that you can do your own evaluation on your marketing. But we're going to start with this green section where it says calculating what your time is worth. You're going to want to put in your target yearly income because your time may be worth maybe another agent who's working part-time in real estate, et cetera. I'm just going to use for this example the target monthly income, target yearly income of $175,000 a year. We're going to assume we work 40 hours and we take a couple of weeks off for vacation. That gives us an hourly worth of $87.50. And this part is very important because it helps us create this universal system where we can analyze different marketing against each other. This pink section, you can leave exactly as it is, unless you know exactly what the closing rate is for this particular option, because we're going to go with the national average according to NAR, which is that it takes 24 leads for the average agent to close a deal. Okay. It's about a 4 to 5% closing rate. And then in this yellow section, we're going to put in the market factors, the average home price for our area and the average commission side percentage. The last piece of the puzzle is we're going to put in the marketing idea. And like I said, I'm going to go through a couple of examples with you. And the first one we're going to do is I'm going to pick on everybody's favorite open houses. Okay. So open houses are not very expensive. In fact, I'd say that unless you're buying a bunch of directional signs, let's say you're borrowing, we're going to give it the most conservative idea. And let's say that we spend $50. Now, what did we spend the $50 on? We spent somewhere in the neighborhood of, we bought cookies to bake in the oven, make it smell nice, maybe a candle, maybe we printed out a little sign-in sheet, something like that. And then we got some balloons for our directional sign that we borrowed from another agent, or maybe we had it before. Okay, $50, pretty conservative estimate. Let's say that we spend 4 to 6 hours on a Saturday. Let's just call it 6 hours on a Saturday. Okay, 6 hours on a Saturday. Now, here's where open houses will kill you, because I've run a number of different open houses in my life, and I've never, ever generated more than 3 leads from an open house. You might have a different experience. If your open houses generate more leads than that, great, put that number in here. But I'm going to put in 3. And again, I most of the time don't generate any, like 1 or 2 when I've had open houses. So I spend 6 hours on a Saturday, but I'm going to put in 3 leads, and the system, the tool, does the math for me. It basically tells me what the actual cost per lead is doing an open house. So the cost per lead is $191. That's not going to ROI for me. How do I know that? Because based on the market factors, I know that I can spend no more than $56 per lead for this to ROI, for me to get the appropriate return on my investment. That means open houses, absolute no-go. Okay. Let's do another one of everyone's favorite. Let's say we're buying leads from Zillow. Now, I've actually never bought leads from Zillow. This is actually, I'm going to give you the numbers that were reported to me by a Zillow rep when I talked to them recently. And the cash cost for when I talked to this Zillow rep for a particular zip code, and in a lot of markets, they're not even doing zip codes anymore. They do these flex team things where you're paying 30+%. That never ROIs, by the way. But the cash cost was going to be $980 for this zip code. Now, the beauty of Zillow leads is you're buying them. You're not running ads. You're not sitting around an open house. So the time cost is actually zero. Okay. Um, and the number of leads that they promised me for that zip code was between 6 and 8. Okay. Let's say that that it was 6 leads. Now, I've talked to agents before. A lot of agents aren't even getting this number of leads, but let's just say it's exactly what that Zillow agent reported. 6 leads. Maybe we even put 8 leads. See if it ROIs. It still doesn't ROI. Even if it's best case scenario, according to the Zillow rep, still doesn't ROI, and that's because when I'm buying leads from Zillow, the cost per lead is $122. Again, my budget in order for this to give me a return is $56. I'll do one more example for you. And this is one of our playbooks that we run pretty regularly. And this is our Facebook Marketplace playbook. Now, the cash cost to run ads on Facebook Marketplace is zero. It doesn't cost anything. It's completely free. But some agents say, well, in order for it to run effectively, you got to have Pro Tools. The monthly cost for Pro Tools, which is actually the most expensive way to buy Pro Tools, is $299 a month. So let's just put $299. I'd say that that's unfair, at $299, because you're going to have a lot of these. You're going to have a website, et cetera, et cetera. But again, benefit of the doubt, we'll just throw in $299 for the cash cost. The time cost is what it will cost you. So for you to run, let's say 6 ads over the course of a month, you're going to be renewing them regularly. You're going to be responding to messenger interest. I'm going to include all of this as part of the marketing that you're doing. So that means probably about 10 minutes per day times, let's say 30 days. So 300 minutes. What is that? 5 hours? That's probably too much. Because you're not actually doing it every day. So let's call it 20 days instead of 30 days. That's every day except for the weekends. That's 200 minutes. That's what? Whatever that is, 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Okay. So 3.5 hours, which is writing ads, renewing them regularly, responding to messenger interest. Again, that's probably more than I spend when I'm running it. I probably, over the course of a month, run it, spend no more than an hour on it total, but let's just call it 3.5 hours. Now, if I were running 6 ads, I'm not generating 8 leads. I'm probably generating somewhere between 80 and 100 leads. But again, let's say it's a bad month and I only generate 50 leads. Okay. Or let's just say I generate half of what my normal is, 40 leads. Okay. Let's see if it ROIs. And the answer is absolutely, because this method ultimately cost me $15 per lead. My budget, I could spend up to $56 per lead and get an accurate return. Again, the tool does the math for me, so I don't have to sit there and pour over the reports, the numbers. All I have to do is put in those 3 inputs: the cash cost, the time cost, the number of leads I either have generated or that I would expect to generate. And by the way, when a vendor calls you, you can do this exact same exercise. Take those 3 inputs. You just ask them, hey, how much is this going to cost me out of my wallet? How much is it going to cost me in terms of time to implement? And how many leads am I going to generate realistically? Boom, you'll be able to generate your cost per lead, and you'll know whether it's something that you want to continue doing, double down on it, or whether it's time to go ahead and kick it. That's the whole thing. I want you to spend the next 15 minutes and go through each one of your marketing efforts. See if you should kick them or keep them. I also want to ask you to please like the video, share it with another agent who needs it, and then comment below that you knocked it out. After you do that, I'll send you the full 1-hour-long training that we did on this topic last week on generating consistent clients, where we give you all the tools, the scripts, everything you need to execute it, even without Pro Tools. Thanks. We'll see you soon.